If you love history, traditional arts and skills, and vintage living as much as I do, come join me here at the Homestead, where the conversations are always interesting and educational. I'm glad you're here. Hello, and welcome to Willow's Vintage Homestead, where we talk about all manner of old-timey topics. I'm your host, Willow Polson, and with me today is my friend Jeffrey Weissman. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. He is best known probably as an actor who portrayed George McFly in Back to the Future 2 and 3, and he's been in Pale Rider and quite a lot of other shows and productions. And I really want to talk to Jeffrey today about living history in particular, because he also portrays Mark Twain and has a very fun comedic medicine show that we did at the museum at the gala a couple of years ago. But anyway, so let's throw it over to Jeffrey. How are you today, sir?
I'm an old timer.
Well, that doesn't tell me how you are. It tells me what you are, but that's fine.
Well, I figured you have me on your old timey show because I'm an old timer.
Okay, all right. Yes,
I'm feeling it in my bone. I had to take an Epsom salt bath this morning because
really?
I'm still aching from my Mark Twain gig I did this weekend.
Tell
it's
us
rough,
about that.
walking around in those old timey shoes and clothes.
Yeah, and this was in Angels Camp?
Yes, we had Mark Twain's Wild West Fest put on by the Angels Camp History Museum. This is their second year, I think, trying to bring it back since before the pandemic. Did not get the attendance they were hoping for, but then again, there was a lot of competing events. Nonetheless, the attendees, which we had easily a few hundred, I think had a great time. In Twain, I was very personable. I had a mini-me. I found a young lad, Donovan, who was made up as Twain with his mustache and wig and white suit, and it was really adorable. And I had a wonderful rapport with the children, and I debuted about 6 more stories than I had when I came to the Cultureville History Museum.
Yeah, that was a lot
History
of fun.
Center.
You did that for us last year. So you've been to the museum twice. You did Mark Twain last year, and then before that was the medicine show. But yeah, you mentioned the
Dr.
shoes. So we
Cornelius
have
Poindexter.
Dr. Cornelius Poindexter, which was yeah, that was spectacular. People really enjoyed that. So you
let's
have
give them
like
a taste. We'll just tell everybody to make sure they support our sponsors. The Miracle in a Bottle. It's a fever reducer, sedative, a laxative, a vermifuge. It's all in one. Everything you want for protection of viral maladies for your families. If the children have a despotic dyspepsia in their tummy, it could be from an unwanted worm or what have you. You push them down the child's gullet before bedtime, and that worm will come out in the morning and be lying there in the bed with the child. It has been safe for the children. And yes, they adore its delicious liver flavor.
Right? Yeah, all kids love liver. That's just a known fact.
I find entertainment when doing these history things because I get to explore the strange things we've had in our history. I've got probably a half dozen books on medicine men and the various devices that people were sucked into buying for cures over the 18th and 19th centuries and into the 20th century.
Well, it was called snake oil for a reason, right?
Kickapoo, Indian sagwa. There's so much richness, and if you'd like, I'll go back to my origin story of how I got into this mess.
Yes,
I was always wanting to be an actor, and in grade school, I had a history teacher who allowed me to do my oral reports from whatever period of history we were studying as a newscaster, and then I would do these newscasts from whatever period we were studying, interviewing historical figures or telling the news of the day, and I get credit for that. And I was like, oh boy, this is good. Center of attention on my ham bone is being satisfied, and I'm getting credit in history. And then flash forward to my first year of high school, I borrowed my costume that I wore in a production of Merchant of Venice and got a ride with a friend out to the Renaissance Pleasure Fair, the original fair, which was started by a school teacher. Phyllis Patterson was a school teacher, and in her early embryonic fair days, she started the fair for her students in her backyard and built a
Oh, wow.
Commedia dell'arte cart. And it was educational. It grew and it expanded to a park. And in fact, if you wanted to hear one of the very first fairs, there's an hour-long cut-down live broadcast from one of that very first fair when it opened with
Oh, that's
David
wonderful.
Ossman from Firesign Theater and Carl Reiner. Well, they did the radio station did a live broadcast all day, and Kevin Patterson, I believe, progeny of Ron and Phyllis Patterson, the founders, cut it down to an hour and put slides to it, and it's up for the 50th anniversary of the original fair. So you can find
Oh,
that on
wow.
YouTube. Fairest of the Fair, I believe
Oh,
it's called
yeah.
Fairest of the Fair,
Oh, that's wonderful.
and
I'll
so
definitely look
I
for that.
fell in love. I said, I'm home. The folk, especially in the Queen's court, the courtiers and the servants and all, they often would base their characters on historical characters. The Morris dancers, the English country dancers, the
Mm,
Celts, the Germans, the various guilds very much were historians and entertainers. And that was
mm.
Phyllis's idea, I think, is to trick people into education by entertaining with a wink. And it was really lovely. I found out what's this thing with the ruff underneath the head, the collar. Where does that come from?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's from the French. The French decided they wanted to serve the head as if it were on a platter.
Ah.
Or why are the slops, the gentleman's pantaloon slops, ribboned? Well, that's from the Germans who came back from their wars and the Crusades and what have you. They would wear their army battle fatigues that were sliced from the swords, and that was showing a
Oh.
bravado. And it's still going on. How is it you can now buy jeans that are pre-torn?
Yeah, right. The battle. Battle jeans.
Well, I tell when I do workshops for kids, and I say, some things never change. Originality, I got into collecting early sound recordings, and
Mm.
the kids that I do demonstration of my cylinder records on the gramophone, they're astounded when I say, "I've got a rap song from 1896." And they're going, "No, you don't."
Oh.
And I go, "Yes, I do." And I put it on for them, and it's Billy Golden doing Turkey in the Straw syncopation, a rabbit
Oh.
hash, a polecat mash, a raccoon stew, and a dicka-dicka-doo. And in between the verses, he raps about the White House, about the Democrats going out and the Republicans coming in. So you see, I wouldn't even know that if I hadn't got into living history. And falling
Mhm.
in love with that kind of coincided. I stopped doing the Renaissance fairs when I started my Hollywood career
Mhm.
and basically focused on that. Came back for 1 year to help run a horse tournament and joust
Oh,
in
wow.
'87, I think. But in '87, I started playing characters for Universal's tour, and
Right,
I
right.
I started playing Stanley Laurel, and I really didn't know that much about Stanley Laurel at the time. Now I'm, a Laurel aficionado. So then a year later, fell into playing Charlie Chaplin. A year after that, Groucho Marx, and then Larry
Mhm.
Fine of the Three Stooges. And
Right.
then in the 2010, I think it was, started playing Mark Twain, where I fell into an opportunity to audition to play him in a PBS movie that is now streaming for free.
There we go.
It's based on his trip to the Holy Land on the first commercial cruise ship out of New York in 1867.
And obviously, as an actor, you're embodying that that persona, so you wanna know as much as you can, you wanna dress the part, and go all out, right?
Yes, when you're on a film set or television set or at an immersive environmental theater
Mhm.
show, such as the Ren Fair, Dickens Fair, what have you, you're in character 8, 10 hours.
Right.
And the
Right.
more you know, the more detailed your studies are, the easier it is. And then when you get tired and you got no more to give, you're still on. So I have
Mhm.
developed a bag of tricks of, uh, you know, jokes or sayings or things that mannerisms and such that I've
Mhm.
borrowed from the greats, from everyone from W.C. Fields to Lupino Lane to Buster Keaton.
Mhm.
I'm an entertainer, but also an educator. And that's why I loved this event at Angels Camp Museum and your event at,
In Coulterville, yeah.
especially when the children want to play. I had one child. This little sheriff came visited me at least 10 times throughout the day. He was on the hunt for a bandit who had robbed the stagecoach and had a bag of money. And we polished up his sheriff badge and made sure that he knew what to look for and be careful with these varmints. And I would give him little coaching sessions throughout the day. And then by the end of the day, he would find me actually until he walked me out, showering me with fairy dust and a protective invisible shield for wherever I may go next.
Wow, that's
It
amazing.
was just
See?
delightful because I gave him the green light that he could play, and
Hmm.
that's one of my favorite shows I did at the Heart of the Forest Renaissance Festival in Santa Barbara at Lake Cachuma, and then at
Mm.
Stafford Lake in Novato. I was given a kids show on a kids stage that was pure improvisation. I had a bunch of props and costumes, and I get the kid volunteers, and they made up their own story. I just helped guide it once in a while when it
Oh,
needed,
wow.
but it
How
was just
fun.
wonderful to watch that. I studied improv, of course, starting in the streets of the Renaissance Fair when I was
Mm.
14 or so, and then in school would do some improvisation, but mostly in college and after college, studying with a lot of the comedy groups in Los Angeles, from the Groundlings or Second City,
Mm.
and other groups, and then I was part of the team that formed Los Angeles Theater Sports, which is now in its 38th year.
I just keep thinking about that little boy who followed you around. And that's just the kind of thing where it's a formative experience, for that child. And he may go off to be a great actor, or a teacher or something. And it's so important to engage kids like that, and encourage that. And so thank you for doing that, honestly.
It's really important that adults kind of put themselves out and give the signal that they're available to play. I always turn to a jaw-dropping fact about my wife, Kim. When she was a little girl, when she was 10 years old, she learned about war. How
Mm.
could World War II even happen? How could millions and millions of people been killed? And she suffered from serious depression at the age of 10.
Wow.
And she was at the library and crying, and the librarian, got this out of her, what was upsetting her. And the
Hmm.
librarian said, look at the philosophers, what they say about war and such, and men's behaviors. And it led her to, I believe it's called the White Castle, Robert Graves, the author, one of Robert Graves' early books. And she actually found Robert Graves, the writer of I, Claudius, and various other wonderful books
Found
and,
him
and
like
shows,
the person.
and found the author, found where he was living on an island out in the Mediterranean, and she started a correspondence for 3 years. He
Oh,
wrote her
wow.
back, and because he was amazed that this 10-year-old girl was asking him questions about the horrors that mankind are capable of. And it nurtured her sense of putting things in a philosophical frame. So the opportunities that living history give, you'll see there's an actual kind of battle that goes on between the current state of Renaissance fairs and those who were doing it during the golden age from the 60s through the probably early 80s.
Mm.
The fairs don't adhere to a uniform BFA, we called it, a basic fair accent, which was based on the early pronunciations that you can sometimes find a Shakespearean play performed in London at the Globe. We had a guide to tell us how to pronounce the Lard is moi shepherd, I shall not want. It's trying to get people not necessarily to always speak that way, but at least flavor
Right,
your
because there
speaking.
comes to a point when you can no longer really fully understand what's being said.
Though when there's a father-son team that have mounted almost all of Shakespeare's plays now in the original tongue, and you get the jokes. The jokes don't stand up with modern pronunciation,
Ah,
which is
right.
interesting. And the pentameter really dictates a lot of those jokes and
Mm.
pronunciations. And you'll see, in poetry, it's come live with me and be my love, and we shall all the pleasures prove. So prove actually would be Louvre. So come live with me and be my Louvre, and we shall all the pleasures prove, for it to rhyme
Ah,
correctly. So it's
gotcha, right.
it's
We're getting into
tuning your
ancient
ear.
linguistics at this point now.
And I think the folk that did the Ren fairs originally were in love with the fact that they were recreating some other period. The fair was also kind of a hideout for a lot of people who didn't fit in society
Oh,
and a
yeah, no, the
lot of
few times
misfits.
I
And yet,
went.
out of it came an appreciation. Yeah, world music, incredible world music, really had a thriving environment there, as well as crafts. The
Yes.
the vendors that first sold at fair were all judged and were crafts. A renaissance in American handmade crafts took place. And now I don't know that the crafts are so judged and handmade. I don't think they do justice when you see a food truck
Mhm,
or the performers are have no accent at all and are on a
mhm.
microphone on speakers.
Yeah,
That's not the
yeah.
Renaissance vision that was originally.
Yeah, I
But
haven't
nonetheless,
gone in a
I've been
while.
I invite you. Just a month ago was the mayor for the Valhalla Fair up in Lake Tahoe, and then right after that, the Folsom Fair east of Sacramento. And I even based my mayor because the town was Newcastle on Tyne, on
Mhm,
named him Thomas Riddle, who was an actual mayor about the late 1500s. So we do some historic reenacting, but
mhm.
the real joy, and it rarely pays though, is the reenactors, the Civil War reenactors that you see, the ones both on the West Coast and the East Coast, from
Mhm.
Gettysburg to Williamsburg. You see a lot of docents who dress and will try to stay in character. I personally would love to see them more speak in the first person, like I think they do in Williamsburg. Uh,
Mhm.
I think they do in Civil War reenactments, but often you see them talking in the third person, which kind of takes you out of the immediacy. Well, this is what I
Right.
would do if I was in this period. Well, but
Right, and then
rather
the
and
clothing
I
just becomes a costume at that point. It's not actually their clothing, it's just a put on at that point, right?
exactly, a demonstration thing, and that's not, you're breaking a chance for inspiring a fantasy of living in that fantasy, that Westworld
Mhm.
feel. I trained the first team of tour guides in Sacramento, in Old Sac, and I
Ah.
had about 70% of them adopt a character and do it in costume and make relations with the various places they were showing. I'm actually a scullery, a maid here in this
Mhm.
household, but my husband works over in this building here. And that brings an immersive immediacy of
Mhm.
history. Kevin Patterson got the contract by the Sacramento History Museum. We did 5 years with his Red Barn Productions, or theme events, or both, uh, in Old Sac, of time travel weekends.
Mm.
And I was one of the directors. We had a cast of, often it was 60 volunteers a weekend. My wife was cookie. She fed everyone with no
Oh,
kitchen,
wow.
even with on hot
Oh,
plate.
wow.
But everyone pitched in. We were communists, damn it. Everyone helped. The actors in the reenactment of the squatters riot of 1851, where they were
Oh.
helping pluck the cilantro for in the morning for the lunch. The most potent living history theater I've ever experienced was during that show. We restaged an abolitionist rally,
Mm.
debate. The rally came to where we had podiums set up on a street corner and had three sides debate the question of slavery. And
Mm.
we took the debate directly from transcripts. Wells Twombly, the late great Wells Twombly, a wonderful historian, found these transcripts. We had a person who was pro-slavery from the South. You're going to crush the economy of the South, and these slaves are happy. We feed them. They're part of a family.
Right.
All good arguments, right? Then the
Eh.
anti-slavery, though this is a heinous crime against humanity. These people are tortured, they're abused, blah blah, and they've
Mhm.
been stolen from their original country of origin, blah. And
Right,
then
right.
the third angle. Oh, we don't agree with slavery. These people should be freed, but they should be sent to Colombia.
To like the country?
We don't want them here. Yeah, no,
That
not Columbia, the state park. That was an actual transcript of the whole group of faction that free the slaves, but we don't want them here. send them to South America.
Wow, I didn't even know there was a third argument. Interesting.
History's not pretty.
No, no, it's very complicated. It's not, yeah, I mean, people think, oh, I'll just trot down here and make a candle and go home. And it's like, oh, hold on a minute now. You know, there's a lot going on at a place like Colombia or any of these places. When ideally
Well,
the Renaissance Festival where they would have people actually like doing things in a traditional way. That's my whole jam.
yeah, well, we were doing this traditional debate over this topic publicly, and the reactions that I witnessed, since I was the director, I wanted to make sure this was working. I saw people crying,
Mm.
I saw people laughing, and I saw people yanking their children away.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was truly potent. It was really remarkable, and
Mm.
we have that in Colombia. I'll do
Hmm.
tours of the town as Dr. Cornelius Poindexter, Medicine Man, or sometimes it's Mark Twain. That doesn't pay, but it's very
Mm.
rewarding. When I do my Twain tour, I call it the Truth Tour because Twain,
Ah,
I don't think, would hold back. And there were so many wars that people don't know about.
right.
The miners, the state of California did not exist yet in 49. And the miners that settled there, they had to make their own laws. And
Yeah, it was
they would
hairy.
yeah, it went from a population there at Yankee Hill America Camp was the original name there. And it went from a population of about 26, 28, and in after the Hilgarth company found gold there and word got out, of course, the Latins already, the Mexican Californios, they were already panning gold there. But
Hmm.
when Anglos first found it, the Hilgarth company, anyway, when word got out to Jamestown, when they sent their young member of their camp to get the supplies and come back because they didn't want to leave, they were scooping up gold so easily.
Gee.
The population increased within 2 weeks to 4,000.
In 2 weeks, they're swarming in there.
And yeah, from 26 to 4,000 in 2 weeks. And then word got around the world. You know, it took a while, but by 52, Columbia was
Mhm.
one of the largest population towns in California. It was up for being the new state capital.
Now I'm gonna combine Colombia and what you said earlier about time travel and swing back around to Return to Hill Valley based on, of course, Back to the Future films, which you do. And that's a fundraiser for the Michael J. Fox Foundation, right?
Yeah, it started originally as an event called Back to 1885.
Mhm.
And a couple dear friends of mine, Oliver and Terry Holler, out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, they their pastor knew that each of them had a love of Back to the Future,
Mhm.
and he introduced them to each other. Oliver, was diagnosed with terminal cancer,
Mm.
and the pastor knew that Oliver needed something to brighten his life, and so he introduced him to Terry, and they fell in love, and they maxed out their credit card when they found a DeLorean. I think that same pastor said, "Hey, there's a
Oh,
DeLorean for sale over here,"
I want one.
and Oliver's always been you've got one.
No, I want one.
Oliver
Oh,
was
jeez.
a whiz at electronics engineering and so on and so forth, fabrication. Oliver and Terry built from screenshots and driving around the world in their time machine and raising money for Mike's charity. The Team Fox is the arm of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research.
Mhm.
They decided that they would take the Uber fans to Columbia, not far from Red Hill, where they shot Part 3
Yep.
in outside of Jamestown, and ride the number 3 steam locomotive, which was the train that Doc and Marty hold up and to
Yeah.
push the DeLorean that goes over into Eastwood Ravine, and then so they had this magical event for about 88 people from around the world, all the way from Russia or Germany or Denmark or France,
Oh, wow.
many Americans. People came from everywhere. And the first night was like a campfire cookout, and then everyone got their own frisbee pie tin and a
Oh.
mug and a lantern, and they went on a hunt and they found the Delgado mine with their DeLorean time machine in it. You know, straight out of the movie. It was magical. It was immersive theater at one of the days had an event where you went to the Moaning Caverns, and they have a slide. What do you call it? Where you slide across on a wire.
Oh, like a zip line.
A zip line. That's it. Thank you. Words failed me. You
That's
dress as Doc Brown and do a zip line to the clock tower.
Oh, no, I see.
You know, it was so every day was a different thing with either ride the
Wow.
train with Marty and Doc Brown
Wow.
reenactors and uh, the shootout. Then there was a Hill Valley Festival with the in construction clock tower you could have your picture with and play the games. And so I
Yeah.
came as a special guest because of my participation, having played George in part 2 and 3.
Yep,
But
yep.
I did my medicine show. And then the next year I played Mark Twain for them and
Nice.
they retired. But since I now live in the Sierra foothills, my wife and I said, well, we want to keep it going. Do we have your
Yeah.
permission? They said, yeah, but not with our name. So we changed it to Return to Hill Valley and
Ah,
found some locals to co-produce with us. And we brought
gotcha.
it back. And then the Hollers came out of retirement to join us one more time.
Oh,
And
that's
then
nice.
it was produced this year. I had too much going on this year, so I did not co-produce. But this year it was really remarkable. We even brought in Harry Waters Jr., who played Marvin Berry at the Enchantment Under the Sea Dance, and the
Ah,
closing night was an Enchantment
right.
Under the Sea Dance, and all
Ah.
the attendees, were in fits of ecstasy, having the time of their life, and
Awesome.
great act-alikes came up from Hollywood. Rusty Locke as Brown, he really is
Yeah.
phenomenal, and Dade and Lacey, the Marty and the Clara, and Lacey also doubled as Lorraine. A
Mm.
great George, 55 George came, and then the Mad Dog Tannen Biff actor, I believe, who's out of Fresno, Jordan, I believe. Really fantastic. They did a knockout
Nice.
job, and they brought out Burton Gilliam, who was the 45 Colt 45 salesman in part 3.
Oh,
In years
I
past, we had
was
Marvin J. McIntyre, my buddy
yes.
Marvin, who I did Pale Rider, Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider with.
Yeah, I was there, with
He
the
was the Undertaker, and
Undertaker.
he came out.
Yeah, 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 I was there with the Undertaker. He measured me for the grave.
Yeah,
That was great.
it's
Yeah.
like cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, cosplay is another aspect of it, and we could absolutely continue with this for another hour, but unfortunately, my show's only half an hour, so I need to get some, parting thoughts and concluding thoughts on living history
Get some
and
more
why it's
sponsors.
important. Get some more sponsors. Well, I might have you back for part
In
two.
the okay, I'm used to sequels. Uh,
Right.
in the political climate that we have right now, where they're actually erasing history from the government websites,
Yeah,
trying to
that's
rewrite
crazy.
the narrative, I think it's more important than ever that the wonderful, rich history and lessons to be learned from history are celebrated and set in stone. The event where I trained probably 60 or more volunteers and docents there at Columbia for the 1852 Diggins,
Mm,
I
right.
think I've taken them up a notch. Instead of doing things in the third person, we're doing it in the first person, and
Good.
that's rich. And I want to encourage people to do that more and more. And then come see my website, jeffreyweissman.com, and look around. I've got a store, and I've got stories and photos from all sorts of films and TV shows I'm in.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of them. Well, this has been a lot of fun, as I knew it would be, and I hope to see you again very soon. We'll have to do lunch, as they say in Hollywood. Well, thanks for joining me today, and thanks to all my listeners, and more great shows
My
coming up. And
my
I've
pleasure,
already
Willow.
absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Bye.